Hi gang, guess what? It is tip time. And this one just so happens to be on my favorite subject, kettlebell swings. Now, in the training world, we have like a dirty dozen, where there are moves that people say and they love to do all the time, but 9 times out of 10, they're done wrong. Now, not to be the bearer of bad news, but I want to be the bearer of good news by showing and teaching you a couple of things that I learned from Russian kettlebell certification, the OGs of kettlebells in the world, the technique derived from Russia. So I trust them in teaching me, and they taught me exactly how to perfect and teach this technique. Now, the cool thing about kettlebells, and especially if you know me as a trainer, my favorite song is Pop, Lock, and Drop It by Huey. Now, it just so happens to be that a part of teaching the technique is to pop and to lock. But before we do any of that, we have to understand exactly the function of a kettlebell swing. So, a kettlebell swing has a million different benefits: conditioning, coordination, balance, abs. Musculature-wise, it is a full body move that really is hamstring, glute, ab loaded. Can also work your shoulders, especially if you're doing American swings. But we're talking Russian swings. We're talking just that fundamental right now. But in order to understand a swing, you have to understand the foundation of the movement. The foundation of a movement, guys, now I see this all the time, people have a tendency to pair a squat with a kettlebell swing. Here's why that does not make sense. A squat is like this. A kettlebell swing is like this. And if you look at the foundation of the movement, it actually looks more like a deadlift, right? Because that is a hamstring move, like this. Now, going back, I know I'm getting kind of boring, so I'm gonna try to keep this short and sweet. What we wanna work on is what's called a hip hinge. And the two things that you should say in your mind when you're doing a hip hinge are pop and lock. Just so happens that that's my favorite song. Here's what I mean. The move that's called a good morning, because it's a great way to wake up your hamstrings and your glutes. So here's how we're gonna start. Feet, I want you to take your feet so that they're shoulders width, so you're stacked like a house, like a foundation. You're gonna take your arms out to the side, palms up, palms up. What you're gonna do is hinge your hips, guys. It's all in the hips, just like Happy Gilmore. So it's like somebody's taking their fingertip, they're pulling my booty this way. Now, a squat is a deep bend in the knees. A hip hinge in this scenario, in a deadlift like this, or in a kettlebell swing, is a very, very small range of motion, short bend in the knees. Meaning this, palms are up, feet are shoulders width. I'm gonna flip my palms down, take a slight bend in the knees, hinge my body forward. Now, if you were to take a look at me from the side, I'm in a neutral spine, so I have a slight curve in my back. My abs are tucked in tight. I have a slight bend in my knees, and my weight is evenly distributed between my toes and my heels. Now, if I haven't lost you yet, we're in good shape, because this is very critical in order to get the best out and the most out of a swing. So try this. Palms up, hinge your hips back, soft bend in the knees. See how I'm like perpendicular to the floor, or two parallel lines from the floor, right? And stand up. Get a couple of these hip hinge ranges of motion. Now, I am very flexible. So if you do not have the flexibility to keep your knees as quite as straight as I do, then that's a whole nother thing we gotta tackle, is the flexibility. So making sure you're warming up properly. Now, if you can do that, then I want you to start practicing the timing of a swing. Here's what I see all the time. And I even see videos that go like this. And they don't say anything. The reason why a lot of trainers don't say anything is because it is so fucking hard to explain. So, here's what I see. It's not pretty, right? Here's the way the Russian kettlebell certification teaches it. The school. So essentially, See that same positioning that I'm doing in a good morning? But here's the difference. When I'm holding a kettlebell, depending on the kind of kettlebell you have, you gotta take into account the handles. And there's a billion different styles of a kettlebell swing, but we're going very fundamental. One kettlebell, this is only 10 pounds. And actually, I think the lighter it is, the harder it is to do right. So here's a great way to set it up. I'll give you two different versions. Kettlebell's in front of me. Here's why. I'm actually setting myself up in the hip hinge position before I even start, okay? Making sure from my head to my hips, stay solid like a plank, and then the only thing that happens from there is a slight bend in the knees. Here's what I mean. Great way to start, guys, is not from a dead stop. It's by swinging the kettlebell so that your thumbs are up your business. Literally. Once the kettlebell is here, here's where the pop comes from your butt. Pop. Once you meet the pop position, you lock it in place. Now, the only way the kettlebell will actually swing down, will come back to its starting position, is if you stop it. Otherwise, like an American swing, what you see in CrossFit, how people go overhead. That's not what I want. I want you to stop at shoulder height. So what you have to do is you have to pop it again, but only with your abs. So I'm gonna take a little bit wider position than I would in a good morning. I do a slight turn out of my toes because that's going to accommodate the turn out of my hips. Thumbs are going to be up. The kettlebell will, at this point, I'm going to swing it back right to my business. Pop my hips, boom. The pop of my hips is what pops the kettlebell up, guys. It's not separate. The only reason the kettlebell swings up is because of this. And if you don't do that, it doesn't work. It doesn't work, all right? So I pop my hips, pop. I lock myself in place, also meaning my knees are flexed up, my quads are flexed. I'm standing straight. Once the kettlebell gets to shoulder level, I have to pop again with my abs, bracing my abs. That braced pop feel or locking feeling is going to swing the kettlebell back down. The only reason I will even break at my hips is because the kettlebell touches me and tells me to reload. So here's the sequence. Pop, lock it, it swings back. Okay? It is not a squat. It should be impossible to do in slow motion if you're doing it right. I see it all the time, slow motion. So here's a kettlebell swing with one dumbbell, a Russian kettlebell swing. I start with it in front of me. I'm gonna swing it back, arch my back a little bit, stick that booty out, guys. I did a video with Men's Health, and I talked with the head trainer of Men's Health, and we were talking about kettlebells because I brought my kettlebell with me on set, and I warmed up with a nice light 10-pound kettlebell every day before we shot videos. And he said, "So, you're pretty good with kettlebells, huh?" And I go, "I'd like to kind of think I am, or at least learning to be." And he goes, "Well, look at my swing." Looked at his swing, and he goes, "What's wrong with my swing?" Here's one of the more common things that happen, watch. It might even be hard in the video to tell. Here's the difference. Here's the right way. Can you spot it? Most people start to hinge their hips back before the kettlebell gets to the point where it's touching you to tell you to hinge back. That's a big deal because those tricks in the technique are going to differentiate between you actually benefiting from the move and you wasting your time. Seriously, it is really that simple. Now, if you want to look at a place that is going to be a very, very, very reliable source. When it comes to kettlebells, look up RKC, Russian Kettlebell Certification. This school are the originals, where it all came from, where it all derived from. And there is no better expert in the world or expertise than the people that the technique came from. So check that out, because there's a ton of really cool videos. But in the meantime, here's what I want you to implement into your workout. Good mornings, hip hinges, any kind of hip hinge motion, which also would include deadlift. But a deadlift, as we know, is another one of those tricky spots. But we'll get to that in another video. But I want 10 good mornings and 10 kettlebell swings. Because once you get comfortable, it's so much fun. Because then you can do hand to hand, single arm, American with a snatch, rush. I mean, there's literally, guys, so many effing things you can do. And it is an incredible move to not only get the strength training portion, but also the cardiovascular portion of a workout. So, if you have questions, I even challenge you to send me a video of you doing the swing. Now, don't be a jerk and send me stupid videos of things I don't want to see. I got a man, and I don't care. But if you want to send me a video of you doing a swing, I would love to help you break it down and iron out those tiny little tweaks or things in your technique that might be holding you back from benefiting from the swing. Okay? And if you've ever been scared to swing, I challenge you to swing now. All right? My name is X. And like they say, I'm always gonna give it to you straight.